All right, we're ready. All right, can we have everybody please stand for the pledge? Remove your hats if any. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. We'll try to keep it to about a 5 to 6 hour meeting. Is that all right with all the students up there? All right, are there any changes to the agenda? There's no change, but in one of the bid documents, a number was transversed, but no changes to the agenda. So we did correct that typo, and the agenda is good. Okay, I'd just like to note that Susan is out. She is sick, so she is excused. So we need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion. Second. Motion by Dale, second by Carrie. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. We'll move on to our yearbook picture. I saw the photographer here earlier. Here she is. Okay. We're yours to direct. Tell us where you want us and we'll.
Whoa. Don't worry, nobody knows.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea. Do it here.
Are we sitting? Are we standing?
How about you or sit and then we'll stand behind the phone? Can you go down? You should go in the middle.
Hey guys, move down this side. This we have for the complete whiteboard. Here we go.
Yeah, let's do that.
This way.
That's what I do. Yeah.
You guys just put them on the floor. You guys can barely reach one more.
Next, we'll move on to our capital projects presentation. Okay, members of the audience and board members, thank you very much for joining us. We have some exciting news to announce as we continue our ongoing capital project work for the district. On May 17th, we will have a capital project referendum in the high school gymnasium. Sure. So just as a point of clarity and history, several years ago, the voters overwhelmingly approved a $34 million capital project referendum by over 90% voter affirmation. For our participation in government students, that's remarkable. And to get any 9 out of 10 people to agree on anything means that I think we're on the right track. That $34 million project included improvements to Betts Park, an expansion and improvement to the Seneca parking lot, Seneca addition, renovations to the Prospect cafeteria, air conditioning at Prospect, additional Prospect renovations, transportation facility upgrades in the infrastructure inside the building, district office expansion, a Seneca Nation instructional suite, high school facade work, the front of the building, track and field updates, tennis court, pickleball courts, and roofing and infrastructure rooms on this campus. The wings 210, 211 in the Seneca building for the old science rooms.
and some additional site and security work. That was several years ago. Phase 3 construction, which is currently completed, the improvements at Vets Park, the Seneca parking lot, Seneca additions to the main office, Prospect cafeteria renovations, AC, some Prospect additions, and some facade work to the front of Prospect, district office expansion, Seneca Nation instructional suite. Those current two, the Prospect and the district office work, are in process, and the high school facade work will be occurring with the next phase of construction, and some additional roof and site work inside the building. When I say site work, that's the stuff on the grounds, fields, grounds, parking lots, things of that nature. So what remains, which is what is going to go before the voters in May of 2022, so just a couple of weeks away. We need to upgrade the track and fields, and I'm going to get to why we're taking it out for a vote again in a second. That includes the track and field, all of the support buildings, the tennis courts, the pickleball upgrades, press box, score room, lighting, bathrooms, all of the support buildings. So if you think of Vets Park and all of the stuff that's there to support athletics, we're looking at replicating that with a slightly different design because of the field orientations, but all of the support buildings at Vets will come onto the main campus to finish phase 3 construction. There's some additional roof work that needs to be done, and there's some new properties that we have acquired in the district and new leases that we have extended with the Seneca Nation for, I guess, properties that we would look to demo for future site work. So. There we go. So what phase 4 construction needs to accomplish, in addition to the work that I just mentioned, includes additional roofing and site work that's now become important for us to continue, a new turf softball field, and the supports for softball on the main campus out back instead of at Prospect. And I'll get to that in the last slide. Some additional infrastructure work in rooms 211 and 210, which are the science rooms in the Seneca building. And those renovations will include taking out the islands, casework and cabinetry to make it more of a traditional type classroom, as well as security upgrades throughout the district, cameras, the infrastructure that supports the cameras and the technology to help keep us safe. And we've decided that the demo work of those houses on Hoy Avenue, on Front Avenue, and on Fern Avenue, we will deal with that internally as a district as part of our normal budget process. We didn't think it was necessary to pay construction costs to demo buildings when we could do that much cheaper through our own contracting through our buildings and grounds department with outside vendors. So this is what phase 4 is going to look like. There we go. Okay. So this is the extent of the field and site work on the main campus. The interior of the track will be a turf synthetic field similar to Vets Park. The track will be stripped and go from 6 lanes to 8 lanes with steeplechase, throwing areas for shot and discus, pole vault, and long jump. If you know where the existing track is, the long jump is right around the side of the turf, the current field, the grass field, where the track and the field meet. It's very tight, it's very congested. To make the soccer, football, lacrosse fields legal for sectional play, we're removing the long jump out of the field area and putting it in a separate location at the ends of the field, as well as additional pole vault pits and jumping areas. The current properties on Fern Avenue, the yellow house and then the blue house next to the Greer building, those buildings will be demoed by the district to make room for 55 space additional parking to support the activities at the main track and field. The existing Greer building, which is buildings and grounds, will be renovated for a concession stand spectator viewing area. Up on the top, we know that team rooms and locker room space is an issue, we're looking at taking 2 or 3 of the existing bus bays, renovating them to be team rooms similar to what's over at Vets Park and that type of construction. Obviously, the building is a little bit different layout than the main building at Vets Park, so it will be a little bit longer instead of wider at Vets Park. But we recognize that we need a place for our athletes and our teams to change and get ready for their various competitions. As I mentioned, the track will be expanded to 8 lanes. The field will be turf, and it will also allow for bleachers, concession stands, score box, and a jumbotron. I will tell you, at this point in time, it's not projected to be the same size as the Megatron over at Vets Park, okay? We want Vets Park to be our main field, but the scoreboard at Vets will be our signature piece, and the scoreboard at the main campus will still be as large or larger than most other school districts in Western New York. So it won't be small and puny. Up to the top corner in the on the far right, you can see the new turf softball field. We've reoriented that for a couple of reasons, for safety and security for our athletes. As you know now, it faces the opposite direction, and there's a concern on Iroquois Drive and Front Avenue with safety. So this will be of similar orientation to the baseball field over at Vets Park. This will be a turfed softball field. We think it's important for both equity and Title IX. If you're unfamiliar with Title IX, that deals with parity in athletics and parity of academic programs. Because we've added the baseball field, we've got the multi-turfed fields for football, soccer, and lacrosse. Softball is the last phase of the athletic upgrade, so every athlete has a synthetic turf field. We did talk with the softball folks and the coaches, and we gave them the option of a grass or a turf field, and they overwhelmingly requested a turf field. I think that extends playability for us as a district. Coming down closer to the parking lot, we see 6 tennis courts, and those tennis courts will be fenced in. There will also be some viewing area in there, as well as the tennis courts will be lined with pickleball options. We've been told that pickleball is quite popular, and in talking with the phys ed department and the recreation departments in the city, this is something that would be of extreme value to the community. You can see kind of the dark gray area there at the bottom of the screen. That's the district office expansion, which, as I noted, is in process of being submitted to the state for approval. So we anticipate that submission to the state will go, Julian, August?
The submission to the approval from SCCS come after September of 23.
Okay. So we've got a little bit of time to go with the addition for the district office for submission to state ed. Okay. And we're still leaving, as you can see in the center of the graphic, a partial grass field. In talking with athletics, we felt that it was important for our athletes to have an ability to practice on grass fields, because many school districts do not have the ability to have the synthetic fields like we'd be recommending. So that will give you an opportunity to practice on turf or practice on grass for your competitions. So from a cost perspective, this process involves the financials for this. And with the financials, it includes construction costs, it includes contingency, construction designs, it includes, because the property that we're renovating and rehabbing is on the main campus, which is on territory. So there's a TARO fee to that, as well as unexpected contingencies that come about as a result of construction. So we've listed the prices out for that as to what we estimate. Turner Construction is our capital project construction firm. They assist us with the estimating and the costs necessary to get this to a vote. And then they also help us manage with the construction once it's approved by the voters, once it's approved by the state, and then once the bids are accepted from the various contractors. So the track multi-purpose field sports lighting is $7.5 million. That is aidable, which means the state will give us money back for that. hold that thought for aidability, because as you all know, if you go to the store and you want to buy something, if you pull out money from your pocket, that's an out of pocket cost for you. And then if your parents or grandparents or relatives are giving you money back, you're not out money, you're still doing okay. So when we talk about the aidability, if it's aidable, the state is then going to give us money back over the course of the project and over the course of the bonds that we need to secure. The scoreboards and the multi-purpose, the video and at the track, 775,000. Tennis courts with sports lighting, 2.6. Turf softball with sports lighting and scoreboard, 3.1. Bleachers and various press boxes, 1 million. Renovate the Greer building to make it a concession, public restrooms, storage and a viewing area, 2.5 million. Renovating the bus garage for team rooms, 2.2 million. The track and field parking and perimeter fencing around the whole area to protect it from vandalism and to keep spectators away from where the athletic competitions are, 1.2 million. That total is $21.2 million. And you can see some of those items are not aidable. That means the district has to come up with that money before we can go to the referendum or rebond it. The other remaining renovations include renovations to the high school and middle school, the science rooms, and then the security at the high school and middle school on the main campus. This project is predominantly and exclusively being done for phase 4 on this main campus. This does not include work to be done at Prospect. That's already ongoing with previously approved work that we are going to approve the bids tonight. So the total for this entire project is $21.4 million. And I just want to note a few things. This includes incidental costs and the tariff fee and an option if bids don't come back favorable. We do have other options to take a look at a grass field instead of synthetic turf. So that's something that will happen over the bid process and the development. But the first primary obligation is to get this to the voters on May 17th. Okay, sorry. So I mentioned what this $21 million includes. It includes construction costs. Design contingency is estimated at 15%, escalation at 24%. So just for the students, the escalation piece is we have an estimate of what it's going to cost. But you should know from your participation in government, your economics class, inflation is up, the cost of everything is rising. The escalation fee is our best estimate. And I will tell you, we've been pretty aggressive at what we think this is going to happen over the next 2 to 3 years in terms of escalation. It's unlikely that costs are going to decrease dramatically in that time frame. So we've kept this number higher than we would probably do in a normal economic cycle. This way, we cover all of the costs so that we don't have to come back to the community at a later date. The construction contingency fees are for those things that happen during construction. I would classify them as, oops, we didn't know that was going to happen. Okay, that can be any number of things. It could be areas and issues with the geothermal wells on the track that we now have to address. It could be additional structural issues at the bus garage or the Greer building that weren't anticipated. And then the tariff fee is a fee that's required to the Seneca Nation. And then incidentals are things that are included that aren't necessarily directly related to the construction cost. Lawyers, architects, things of that nature, to make sure that we have all of those costs covered. The important part for the community is that the $21.4 million comes at no impact to the tax levy. We will not come back to the community and say, can we please have some more money? We are funding this with existing reserves and economic incentives that we have been planning for. So essentially, we are getting $21.489881 million worth of work, and we're not asking the community to contribute a penny towards that. It's money we have in hand and that have access to in consultation with both our construction management firm, our architects, our board, our district finance committee, and our financial planners with the district. So for the students, if you can get $21 million worth of stuff without having it cost you $21 million, is that a good deal or is that a bad deal? Good deal. Okay, all right. The enthusiasm is overwhelming. Okay, so to make this happen on May 17th, the vote will occur on May 17th from 12 noon till 9 p.m. in the high school gymnasium. Coach and Mr. Siebert, we need the gym. So to vote, you must be a registered voter, either through the Seneca Nation Clerk's Office as enrolled Seneca, or the Cattaraugus County Board of Elections, or the district's maintained voter rolls. If you're any one of those three and 18 by May 17th and a resident of the district or the territory, you may vote on May 17th. Okay? So it's important that individuals help spread the word, help us get the word out that this is a $21 million improvement to our main campus athletics, our district classrooms, our security and our infrastructure, our transportation facility, that we can do this at no additional tax impact to the school district, to the residents of the district and the city and the nation. So I have an opportunity, if anyone has any questions with this, I can entertain that. And I have one last slide. So you may be thinking, okay, that's a lot. It is. But we're already having the conversation about what's next after this. A district that stops growing and renovating and building is a district that's not moving and thinking forward. So we have two major initiatives after this one that we will eventually come back to the community to gain input and support. One is additional leases and property acquisitions. If we're taking 2 or 3 of the bus bays for team rooms, we need a new transportation facility. So we've already engaged in conversation with the Seneca Nation and other entities in the town, in the city, in the school district, to possibly consider property acquisition or purchases or an extended lease with the Seneca Nation. We definitely need a new transportation facility. If you've gone by the front of the building, you can see how congested it is and how much traffic is there. That presents a safety issue. So we're looking at a new transportation facility, and we're also having conversations to meet an unmet need in the community of a birth to 3-year-old program. Our school district programs start at age 4 at Prospect and through partnerships with Head Start and other entities for our 4-year-olds, but we have a gap of early childhood from birth to 3. Those are the next things that are looming on the horizon that we're working on and having extensive conversations about how we plan for that in the next phase, phase 5 of construction. And so with that, I can take any questions from the board, if there are any.
I have several.
Fire away.
Well, first, thank Julie. What did you say about the addition? When is that going to be available? Did you say September of 23?
Which edition?
District
The
office.
district office edition? The December of 2023, December 31st is right now the scheduled substantial completion date for the district.
Oh, the completion date by 2020. Yes. Okay. Yeah, when you were talking about submission, I guess I misheard that, so I wanted to clarify.
Submission for SED for the phase 4 work based on the aid renewal for the project. September 11th of 2023 would be the day. Basically, SED approval will need to happen after September 11th of 2023 for the phase 4 project.
Not the district office.
Just from an aid standpoint.
Yeah,
That'll be your aid and make it more aidable.
district office will be submitted this late summer, fall,
Yeah.
and then construction, yeah.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
All right. Get me confused. Chad, question for you. So we're looking at, now that this is public, we're looking at a 50-yard grass field for practices between the shot put area and the new turf softball. How is that going to play out for full field practices on grass for soccer, for football, for lacrosse? Obviously, there's a lot of districts that still have grass fields. What is the 50-yard field? How is that going to affect the teams in practice?
It's going to get a little complicated. I would say you can make it work. You know, throughout the season, we've been accustomed to sharing. I'd like to know what kind of imprint the the shot put has on that area as well. Can we put up a little closer to that, a little closer to 70? Can we angle the field a little bit, make it 60, 70?
Yeah, we've had those conversations with the architect, and that is an option that we can pursue.
Yeah.
We're not fencing in the shot or the discus
Yeah.
at this point, so that we can maintain as much of the grass field. They'll be throwing onto grass, so it'll be a scheduling and a logistical piece with the hubs where they're launching from. But we do have the option of expanding it out a little bit longer and reorienting instead of going east to
Yeah.
west to north and south.
And we can get creative there, but it's an important part of the campus to have that grass there, to be able to host at least 2 programs at once. That was something we talked about, that we did get pretty good at sharing. And we make it work. We understand the situation. We can get our entire football team and the soccer team on in the fall. We'd like to be able to at least get 2 teams on.
Well, I'd like to see us explore that angle approach if we can to get full field. I know it's important for football. You have to have kickoffs. You want to cross, you do transition when you're clearing from offense to defense, the whole full field, same with soccer. So I think it's important that we have that 100-yard full field of grass. So I think we definitely need to look at that.
Any other questions? So later in the board agenda, we will approve a number of resolutions tonight to say that this project will have a negative impact on the environment. That's a good thing. We don't want it to have an impact, so that's a negative declaration. There'll be no adverse impact on the environment. The facilities are already doing predominantly this work, so after doing this environmental quality review, we determined that it will not be an impact. We will approve the vote, we will approve the amount, and then we'll also approve the regular referendum for May 17th for the regular school budget vote. So there will be multiple referendums on the budget vote on the 17th, the regular budget vote, election of board officials, capital project approval, and the creation, which we'll talk about at a later meeting, of a capital reserve account, essentially a piggy bank for future capital projects. Thank you.
So your homework is to go and tell all the grown-ups in your life, stop, vote. You won't say which way. Just say, come on, vote. Okay, we'll move on to item C, which is our presentation from Odyssey of the Mind. Make that one Rosie and Meadow.
So while they're coming down, I'd like to introduce the OM advisor, Ms. Fleur, and the students, and we're delighted and proud of the students who participated in OM, and especially for the Seneca Intermediate team, who are now state champions. Guys, why don't you angle so you can kind of face everybody? There we go. Yeah.
Stand on this side.
They take direction very well. Okay, there you go.
So I'm Jeanette McClure, and I'm the advisor for Salamanca Odyssey. I've been involved with the program since 1996 as a participant, a coach, an advisor, a judge, all the things. I'm super proud of Salamanca's history with Odyssey, but it's really a student-centered, student-driven program, so I'm gonna hand it over to them. Woo!
My name is Emily Benjamin. I've been doing Odyssey of the Mind for 6 years. OM is a creative problem-solving program. It encourages divergent thinking as teams use creativity and teamwork to solve unique problems. OM emphasizes teamwork, budgeting, time management, public speaking, and much more.
I'm Kirsten. I've been in OM for 10 years. I've been in the program since third grade, and I'm a senior. So it's probably one of the longest extracurriculars that anybody has probably been a part of. Our school district has been an active member of the Odyssey program for over 40 years. It was one of the original STEAM programs in our school before STEAM was even a thing. In that time, we've made several appearances at regional, state, and world competitions. We have sent multiple teams to world finals. Last one was 2018, and obviously they're going this year. We've had multiple world championships brought back to our school last week in 2023. And we're just hoping to see a better, not better, but a larger student involvement. Now that
My name is Kelsey Roar. I've been a part of OM for about 6 years. Each year, the Odyssey of the Mind program releases 5 programs to the team worldwide. These programs always include beautiful problems, a technical problem, a problem that involves classics, art, or literature, a false structure problem, and a humorous fulfillment problem. We are the original STEAM program.
I guess I'm next. Well, I'm Kendall Valvo. I am a senior, and the same with Kirsten. I have been a part of this program since 3rd grade, so 10 years now. And over the years, Salamanca has been able to participate in all 5 problems. I have had the chance during my 10 years to participate in 3 of them, which include the classic, structured, and performance problem. And I would just like to say that I have learned a lot of real world skills in this program, things I will be able to take into my adulthood and use when I leave here. And I would just have to say thank you to Jeanette and Ms. Windus, who was out there. We'll be back because once no more, always no more. I'm Tristan. I'm also a senior. However, I've only been in OM for 3 years. This year, our high school team chose the structure problem. Through a lot of hard work, we were able to place 4th first at regionals and came in 4th at the state finals. We are proud of the Division II team who came in 1st at the state competition and will be competing in May, Iowa. And now I'd like to hand it over to Andrew to head off to Division II.
I'm Andrew McCormick, and before we begin, I would like to thank the board for supporting us. This is my first year of OM, and we have Amelia Frey, Greg Fisher, Drew Clayson, Sophia Hodera, Nora Clayson, and Kylie Rao. I'm gonna hand it over to Amelia, who's gonna talk about the structure.
I'm Amelia. I've been doing OM for 3 years. We had to build a 15-gram structure made of balsa wood that had to hold as much weight as possible. The structure was a mixture of the structure that 3 other structures tested us. Inside the smallest structure was a tiny character that had to be exposed. Our structure held 316.5 pounds.
I'm Greg Fisher. I've been in OM for 2 years, and we had to create a play with a theme of stories. We wrote a script, built props, and made costumes. We had 8 minutes to perform.
Hi, I'm Drew Clayton, and this is my first year of Odyssey of the Mind, and I'm in 6th grade. I made the props. One of these props are acorns for one of our games, putting it around them. Another prop I made was apples for a game we called Battle of the Branches. We all pitched in for the tree, which is made of recycled wood and toilet paper rolls.
Hi, I'm Sophia Hodera. I'm in 8th grade and been in Odyssey for about 3 years, and I made our membership sign. We needed a membership sign to hold our membership number, which is 1268, and our team name, Seneca Intermediate School. I took an old frame that we had in the basement and strung up LEDs so it lit up, and cut up paint sticks and glued them into hexagon shapes that resemble the honeycomb. And then I added vines, flowers, and leaves all to the frame.
Hi, I'm Nora Clayson, and I am in 8th grade, and this is my 2nd year. And for the costumes, we made squirrel costumes, bee costumes, and a special costumes for the queen bee. And we made those costumes out of recycled materials, like trash bags, metal hangers, and then, so those are some of the things we use for this year's costume.
I'm Kylie Lord. This is my 5th year in OM. Contingency is another important part of OM. This is where our team comes up with creative ideas on the spot. There are 3 types of spontaneous: verbal, hands-on, and verbal hands-on. And we won't know in advance what we get. I am very proud of my team on getting first and advancing to world finals. We thank all of you for your support.
Thank you.
So OM, the finals are in Iowa City. Ames, Iowa. Yes. We've been there.
Yes.
It's a long bus ride. So, and it's May
25th to 28th.
This is probably the second.
Yeah, 2-time world finalists.
All right. Great job, guys. Thank you. Good luck. Good luck. Thank you.
And last, is our American curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah, you. Hey guys, how's it going? I don't know how we follow such an awesome presentation. I feel like ours is a little bit boring compared to theirs. So hello, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Papa, Gary Musial, and we are the school Native American curriculum team. If you check out our cool logo, well, on the bottom right is our logo created by Bill Krause, and I give them some credit. And then we have a couple videos linked here. If someone, I'm not sure who's on the phone. We just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of some of the projects that we've been working on. So this is Marilyn Isaac. She belongs to the Tuscarora Nation, and she came in and worked with both the intermediate and the high school level, working on traditional finger weaving.
When we actually start weaving, the book actually taught me to line up all your string on a wooden dowel. And I did do that in the beginning, and I figured out so many different ways to not use the dowel because I had to hook it onto something. So now I hook my strings onto a coat hanger. And the only purpose for that is so that I can bend the hook and hook it onto something so I can pull, get some tension.
Our clay would come from clay deposits along the creek or on the bank of a hill or something. And pick their clay and test it, and if it was good for use, they would use it to make pots, or if it needed some work, they would build a clay body by adding crushed shell or crushed pot shards, sometimes cattail fluff. That's making a clay body using that. It's making the clay, natural clay, usable.
Just want to pitch in there that you can see it was a green screen behind there. These are still a work in progress, but the meeting got moved up a little bit, so we just wanted to show you something.
That's actually, those videos were recorded, and then the high schoolers a couple high school students are actually putting them together for us. So it's really cool.
one else. The YouTube one too, Kevin.
Yeah, so this was actually worked on over the summer. This was with Bill Kraus.
Watching this, even if you don't come from a family of singers or dancers, this is for everybody. And it's just, when you're a singer, it's your responsibility to carry it on for the next generation. So that's how we're playing. I'm very happy to be here and be able to still sing and dance. I'll be doing it until I can't no more.
Throughout our history, our people have been in contact with other nations. And through this contact, we've absorbed ceremonies. It's impacted our language as well as our social songs and dances. So we have dances such as the rabbit dance, the alligator dance, the Cherokee stomp dance, stick dance, the dance of the North, as well as some dances that we've even learned and dance styles that we've learned through powwow. Dances such as the round dance and even friendship dance are dances that have been taken from other tribes and made Iroquois.
These dances are called Yoitzakeka. They are social dances.
That was about an hour and 51 minutes.
So sit back and relax.
So that video was put together over the summer, and it includes a lot of local community members that participated in the dance. I actually was in the classroom with the 4th graders, and I decided to use it just to give it a shot, and they were so excited. There were so many people that were related to each other, and so that was what was really special about that. It's just including.
I get issues with it too.
Can't like this do anything?
Just let me know when you want
All right.
control, then you got control. Is this 12th grade government? Yes. Okay. Nice. That makes me very happy. So we'll be seeing you guys tomorrow, by the way. So, we're going into well, Gabrielle's going to talk about that in a little bit, but so the way we decided to we're trying to figure out how to summarize our year, right? Because it's been a year since it started, and there's been a lot going on. And so how do you put that into about 10 minutes? So we kind of put it into these 2 categories, which were kind of creating the foundation this year, getting all the resources together, getting everything organized, and then we hope starting soon, really like next week, is to start going public with it. And we really haven't gotten that far with the going public. And it came to our attention that people don't really know what we're doing. And I think they'll be surprised because we have in the last year gathered, adapted, acquired, categorized several hundred different resources, including things like these videos. But the videos, like the hour and 50 minutes, that's probably 6 or 7 different lessons there. And so and that's how we want to organize these kinds of things. But we need to. I ran into Levi in the hallway today, and I was like, "Hey, Levi, we need to." He had no idea what he's getting into. He's like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So, this is it. Part of it. So we've actually met with a lot of people about how to do this, but this is where we hope to focus really next year, is so that it's easy access to everybody. Right now, the best way to get things and to get things done is to contact us. We don't want that to be always the case. So.
Okay, go ahead. All right, so our second goal, when we first met with you guys, we talked to you about our goals, and as this year has progressed, we didn't really know exactly what they meant. And so we started getting going. So goal 2 has actually kind of put itself in front, right? So we're working to develop relationships and external resources. So throughout this first year, we have worked with about 12 different organizations in some way. This might include like the Nondigan, of course, my favorite, the museum in town. We're working to build a relationship with the district and the museum so that students and staff can go there frequently, as often as they like. We've also worked with a ton of different artists, and so that's why we shared those videos with you. Just working to use traditional education practices that would include
you know, bringing in someone like Peter Jones, a potter that studied longer than I've been alive. I won't age him, but that's really been a big part of what we're doing, is creating the foundation, bringing in members of the community, members of the Seneca and Haudenosaunee communities to educate students and staff. And then in doing that, we're using that as our resources. So goal 1 and 2 have kind of become some little collaboration, I guess. You want to go to the next one? So for year 2, next year, we're hoping to work with other schools that have Seneca and Haudenosaunee students within the nearby area. So this would include like Walsh, Lakeshore, really anywhere, to be able to share the resources that we have, but then also meet people within their districts that are doing the same thing. Jerry and I know that we are not the first to do this. There's actually tons who are still alive and well that have given it a shot and really laid the real foundation for us. So we're trying to really expand that. And then, you know, working with other local districts that maybe don't have as many Native students, but want that Native curriculum so that people can be aware that we are alive and well. And then that last part there is connecting us with all other similar projects. So this might include, you know, museums that are working to develop curriculum, Seneca Nation education and what they're doing, other nations, and be able to share all of our resources that we've created. So that's where Levi comes in and going public. We're hoping to put these resources on the school's website. So while we appreciate people contacting us, if everyone in the whole state wanted to contact us, that might be a bit much. So we want to have a really nice organization online for resources and contacts for all people.
Just to pitch in there, it's just like, it's not as easy as it may sound, because like, you know, she and I categorize things all the time. I mean, that's what we do. We have files and we put things in there, but we share. And what we found is that, you know, when we create files, we don't understand each other's files. And that's just us. That's just 2 of us. You make that for the whole state of New York or whatever, you know, and now it gets crazy. So we're really trying to figure out, you know, is it a dog or a puppy? You know, it's the category actually how you would make a huge difference. So
sometimes we duplicate things. I'm like, why would you put that there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big part of this team is we'll say discussing things. The standards, we talked about the last time we were here a year ago that we were gonna start creating standalone standards for Indigenous studies, and we met with the Indigenous Studies Committee. We worked with them quite a bit over the summer and then into the fall. That is people like Rachel Wolf and Andrea Cook and Michelle Red-Eye, excuse me, and Bill Kennedy. And we worked on these and we completed them actually internally. But it's not, I mean, Gabrielle and I use them to know where we are when we're working with teachers. It's like, okay, so we're gonna work with, you know, 3rd grade, and we're gonna work with 3rd grade and they're learning this. What can we'll look at the standards and say, okay, what can we take out of this to combine with what they're supposed to be learning in 3rd grade? And that's how we're using them. However, this will change. These will change because we need to go further, right? 2 people or even a committee of people can't create a set of standards for the Seneca people. So we have, and if you go forward, you go twice. This one you might have to come back to. We have a list that we created sat down with Nancy Williams and Tracy Cassini with the Seneca Nation Education Department, and created a list of different groups, different people who are kind of the stakeholders that kind of represent different stakeholders within the Seneca Nation, and hope that, and we're starting to set up meetings with them to discuss these standards. Is this what people want to see taught? And we feel pretty confident with ours, but we know that it will change. It's like, I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not actually our thing. It's a community. So, and so just to give you a little sense, go back one now, I messed that up. This is how they work. Basically, we had our framework, and I'm not going to go into this in detail. Feel free to, you know, contact us. We'll talk about all of this stuff. We talked about it for hours and but we have our framework. We have the state standards over here. what was created by the Indigenous Studies Committee and what we, bringing out to the community, what we're hoping to do is use that as sort of the knowledge base to integrate it to the skills that are at the state level, right? So, fourth grade ELA has to learn these skills. Let's use some of the Seneca knowledge base to get to those skills. That's basically the gist of it. And of course, using the SEL and teacher skills and putting it all together to make really good lessons in units. So, that's what we're hoping to do. Next year, this is going to be the work. I mean, it really is difficult to. It's not difficult. People are willing to meet, and people have been more than receptive. But everybody's busy. So I gotta. Can I tell a story on you in front of many people? Got a text
Wait a
from.
minute. Oh, okay, all right.
I got a
Okay,
text from
wait.
Gabrielle at 4 o'clock in the morning telling me she couldn't make a meeting that we had that morning because there was an emergency. And it was a person that we've been trying to meet for over a month, and we pushed it back and pushed it back and pushed it back, and finally we got that meeting. And she's like, "You can go do it. I'll just make it." And so I woke up. When I woke up, I saw that. She texted me at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that's kind of, we don't stop working. We don't stop.
Very dedicated.
Yes. That's it. All right, go ahead. Go for it.
All right, so goal 4 is to create level professional development. So already there's a lot of existing PD and there's no need in changing it really, just kind of building off of that. So Michaela, Red Eye, and Penny Beatty put together 6, and those would be through the Seneca Iroquois National Museum. And those cover a range of topics. Then last year, we worked with them to also bring in Bill Kraus for a few different professional developments. And he's covering a few different topics, such as like creation, the Great Law, the Guy Leo, bringing those in for teachers to get that knowledge. So when they're seeing these lessons, it's not their first exposure to them. And then also finding ways to put them into their classroom. That's one part of it. And then Jerry and I, we love to teach. We don't just sit around, but we do sit and talk and we have our own internal PD all the time. And so our hope was that we could put some of that together and be able to share those with everyone. Throughout the school year, we did one. So far, it was a little bit tough with COVID, as everyone is aware. We had to switch it up a little bit, but that one was on human rights in connection with Kindle Dam. So just trying to bring in different ways that we can help teachers build their Indigenous knowledge base. Yeah, so that was just year 1. Yeah, sorry. So then for going public, our hope is that we would also want to build on those professional developments for the teachers and staff. And a lot of those are going to be available each year. So for example, the ones that are being done with the museum, those teachers could take them again. They wouldn't get necessarily the same credit for taking it, but those would still be available. Justin Schaff is also creating his set of different professional developments. And then we're also trying to work with Joe Solomon on the museum PD this year. So we're going to try to piggyback off that and follow up afterwards and try to figure out how we can help teachers build their curriculum following that. And so Bill is actually going to do one that is really cool. I'm actually really excited to hear his perspective on, but just kind of going through the elements of Ganonyo and then reminding teachers of what that means, right? We see it in classrooms. Thankfully, it's so cool. You can see it outside the school lunch through the cafeteria, but to really understand what each of those things mean and how they integrate into the living culture today. Human rights is something that's really important to me and Jerry. So we're definitely wanting to expand on that. And then Jerry actually came up with an idea for a language barbecue. And do you want to talk on that? Because that's like, what's your baby?
Just briefly. I mean, that really came out of a social gathering and watching kids interact with each other, and some who were Seneca and some who were not, and language being used just in everyday play, and the non-Senecas going, what is that word? And it's like, oh, we can do this. They were learning and teaching each other without any adults getting in the way, right? And kids do that, and it sparked me, it's like, we need to create a comfortable environment where people feel like, they can just hang out and talk and learn. And so this is where this language of art is basically, the first half of the day is a tour on beautiful school buses. And the second half of the day is a barbecue at Gatekeeper School, this sort of learning about what they do there and having discussions with people. And we're gathering a variety of language speakers, and it's limited at this point to people who have taken at least 3 professional developments last year. So it shows people who have started to integrate into their classroom some of the curriculum that we're working on. So it's people who are showing a little bit of commitment to this. So it's not really yet. It's not open to everybody, but everybody can get there if they just take a little bit more professional development. So, and that's what that is. Yeah.
And then just for next year, our hope is, I attended the NIEA conference for the first time ever, and I didn't text Jerry at 4 a.m, but I was like typing things like crazy about all the incredible ideas that came out of it. And so something that was a really big takeaway is how we can follow up with these professional developments and how we can continue to build and work with the teachers throughout the year, so that we're not just giving them these great ideas and then leaving them. We want to make sure that we're getting back in the classroom, assessing how it's going, figuring out if they're struggling with certain parts and how we can adjust, and if we can get them better resources if that's the issue. And so that's a really big part of this too, is trying to figure out how to follow up a little bit better.
Okay, so integrating into the classroom, this is the major portion of our work. So this is, I did not know how to summarize without talking for even summary would be a long time. We work with every grade level, K through 12, in some capacity. So some of it is really probably minor, I guess, in discussions with the teacher or meeting with the grade levels. Others have been pretty intense and really developing things. Things like, bringing Pete Jones into the 4th grade. Some of you may have seen the pottery out there that Amy Whitman in her classroom, that she worked with him in her classroom and created those, and he did the traditional pit fire. Those take a lot more time. But this is really what we do. This is what we enjoy. We like being with the students. We like being with the teachers. And the teachers have been receptive, and the teachers are there with the students and can tell us, even though I taught for what seems like a million years, you forget when you walk away from the classroom, you forget what it's like in the classroom. And so talking to a teacher brings you right back down. This is what will work. This is what won't work. And so that's really an important piece. So.
I just wanted to add, so for year 1, a lot of the work that we've been doing, it's been really cool. This is a job that I really haven't, I don't know, it's right? But I was like thinking about it one day because we had such an amazing week. It was like on Monday, I pushed into the 4th grade classroom and we were talking about creation. And then on Tuesday, we were working with Gakwio to figure out, and conservation to figure out how we could tap maple trees. And then we were tapping maple trees, and then we were like making notes and like typing things up. So it's just really cool that we have the opportunity to do this. I just wanted to thank you all for that. And anyone have any questions for us?
So then the ultimate goal would be to have certain segments, K through 12, that all the teachers have resources to go. And you'll help them incorporate it into the curriculum.
We hope that the goal is for us to not be necessary, and for teachers to be able to do some of this on their own, right? And so we teach them. They hopefully get to that point where they feel comfortable doing it themselves. We can move on. There's a lot of people out there. I don't think that our jobs in jeopardy at all. So what we have found is we can't do everything. We try, but it doesn't always work out.
that's an important part of this school. It's so unique. I say it to a lot of people, but being a public school on a territory, it presents a lot of different change, like different things that other public schools aren't having. So to be able to have non-native teachers educate and feel confident about these things is really special. And it's not necessarily happening in other districts.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
And I will say that, just jumping off what Gabrielle said earlier, is that in the 20 years that I've been here, I don't think I've seen the district as supportive as it is right now. You know, native curriculum and native curriculum and native history and culture, and just trying to bring it into the school. So I appreciate that as well. I hope that sticks around for a while.
My question is almost on what you were just talking about. So was this through the grant originally how this started? I remember it seems like a couple of years ago, we were talking about My Brother's Keeper grant. They started the funding to get this Native American curriculum. Is that what we're still doing?
It's a little bit of each at this point. Probably Jerry's paid for by the district. Gabrielle is paid for through My Brother's Keeper, as well as the mentor program. And then we expand. So between My Brother's Keeper and the district, all of the funding needs are met, and then but we started this to some extent before My Brother's Keeper, around the same time.
There were discussions in small group even before I got involved with it, and that was not My Brother's Keeper that I don't.
No, so we started it just as a recognized need, and then My Brother's Keeper supplied a good chunk of funding, and then that sort of was a catalyst for a lot of.
When is that came from again?
I think we might have one more year of full funding.
It's anticipated.
Either way, this, I'm anticipating whatever doesn't get funded from My Brother's Keeper, we'll see proposals that we.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And if we don't, I'm gonna debate it. Just to be frank. This is great. When you talk about that longevity, that's one of the things I was just curious about. So it's good to hear that we have no intentions of just letting it grants to us down with this. It's great that it can supply some of the money about.
But we have other grants that are coming that are specifically targeted towards Indigenous issues, language, and other interventions for students.
As we talk to community members, people are pretty happy about on this issue, people are pretty happy about what's happening. Pretty proud of the school and being able to do this stuff. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, we've been trying to do that for decades, and now it's finally starting to happen.
So you saw year 1, year 2 is planned for Salamanca, year 3 and 4 is to really start to get outside of Salamanca.
We're planting the seeds, we're starting to sprout, the blossoms are coming, we're gonna have a high yield.
There we go.
That's right.
Well, it certainly sounds like it's like a tremendous amount of work, so. Put in and trying to do the professional. So with that, if I can just jump in with Gabrielle and Jerry, I received a recent call and meeting set up tomorrow with an Indigenous district, just say it's an Indigenous district, and they saw the work that we had done as a result of some of the PR for taking our student ambassadors to DC to advocate for protecting Indigenous community. Just want to read part of the email that girls with the next phase of the implementation. Since the past summer and even earlier, we've been trying to expand our teachers and administrators' understanding and capacity to serve our Native American students. As you might expect, we've had some moments to celebrate and also times of consternation. We'd like to pick your brain on a few topics and get some advice and guidance. You and your staff have been an exemplary model we'd like to follow. We'll talk to you soon. So the work that you're doing and the district is doing is out there in the Indigenous community. And so this is one representation that we're heading in the right direction. So we'll I'm sure we'll be trying to link you up with this neighboring district to assist them with some of their Indigenous and Native American needs and how we can be a role model for them.
Give us a call. We're always available.
Great job.
You old members.
Good luck, Alana. Okay, we'll move on to item 4, which is our consent agenda. So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Brad. Second by Dale. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. And under our new business, we have our accept our bids for a capital project. So was motion to accept the capital project bids? Motion.
Excuse me, can we see contracts?
I'm sorry.
I misprinted that.
Oh, yes, the contracts.
Thank you.
So we need a motion to approve the capital project contracts. Still motion by Carrie,
Yes.
Second.
second by Jess. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. And next, we have our Cattaraugus County Board of Elections polling agreement. Oh, I'm sorry, then this one? Oh, I'm going off. I'm sorry, I printed this off before. I was highlighting this.
Come on, Bob.
I know. Okay, yes, okay. Item B is our contract for Indigo Education Company. So we need a motion to approve the contract and the company and for Bob to sign off the document 26,500. Motion. Motion by Dale, second by Brad. Are there any questions?
No question. Bob, give us a rundown.
Yeah, this is a grant funded program that deals with some survey outreach and assistance with taking a look at some of our internal climate issues. To help improve the school climate and culture. Yes.
Pretty good. Good.
Okay.
Any other questions?
You get more than that, Mark? Nope.
I just did what I said, what Mark told me to say.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion by Dale, second by Brad. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item C now is our Cattaraugus County Board of Elections polling place agreement. And that is for our primary elections Tuesday, June 29th and Tuesday, November 8th at Prospect. So we need a motion to approve. Motion by Carrie.
Second.
Second by Dale. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item B. Sir, we need a motion to approve the budget transfer that was attached. Minutes. Agenda. So we need a motion to approve that, the budget transfers. Motion. Motion by Brad.
Second.
Second by Carrie. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Karen, want to give us a rundown?
My line.
Go ahead.
Basically, it's just our cleanup for the budget at this point in time. We had a deadline for all expenditures for this year to be a couple weeks ago. And I finally had a chance to get through and clean some things up and find out how much money we have left. And if we can get a couple things this year for next year, we will do that.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion by Brad, second by Carrie. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. And item E, is calling for our a vote to establish a new capital improvement, reserve fund in the amount of $25 million. So we need a motion to approve. Motion by Carrie. Second by Dale. Just want to go over that real quick.
She's there. Karen, can we get a rundown?
You want me
Yeah.
to? I guess I'm not sure what you're asking.
Just to review the reserve.
Can you explain it? How much money and how we access it?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you wanted me
Just a quick summary.
We'd like a PowerPoint.
to. Please don't make me read that.
No.
No, I'm recommending a $25 million capital reserve, and it's not something that's going to be funded all at once, but basically what it would do is allow us to put money into the reserve for future use, such as maybe the transportation system building or the early childhood learning center that might not be fully aidable. And then that way we can not have to have additional taxes levied on the community and et cetera, because we would have the money available. And this is a legitimate reserve fund according to New York State. So it does not count towards our 4% reserve fund balance. And once you put the money in and you take it out, you can't refill the bucket, so to speak. If we had $20 million in and you decided to use $5 million towards a project, we can't replace that $5 million. We can only put in $25 million period. It's not replaceable over the 10-year period that the reserve fund will exist.
And to access the funds, it requires voter approval.
Correct.
Okay.
So with this, is this going to be an interest bearing account too?
Absolutely.
Any projections on the interest rate?
If I could do that, I would not be working here. I'd be a millionaire.
You'd still be working here. You love us.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a motion by Carrie, second by Dale. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carried. Item F is our resolution issuing a secret negative declaration for the proposed capital projects. So we need a motion to approve negative declaration.
Motion.
Motion by Carrie, second by Dale. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. And then item G is our resolution for the rehabilitation, reconstruction, renovation, and improvements. So we need a motion to approve that resolution. Who made the motion? Brad? Second by Dale. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. And then item H is our resolution for the proposition authorizing 21,489,881 capital improvement projects and directing that the proposition be included in the district's notice of annual meeting and budget vote. So we need a motion to approve that resolution. Motion by Carrie. Second by Brad. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Then item I is our resolution relating to certain matters connected with the district's annual budget meeting vote. we held on the 17th, 2023. So we need a motion to approve that resolution. Second. Motion by Dale. Second by Carrie. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carried. And item 6 is our personnel consent agenda. We need a motion to approve the personnel consent agenda. Motion by Brad. Second. Second by Dale. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carried. And do we have anybody here?
I do not believe anyone is here that is being appointed and on Zoom or in the audience that I'm aware of. So if that's incorrect, raise your hand.
Okay. Item 7 is our board information reports for the calendar, our policy budget, and then board candidate bios and our upcoming events. So
Can I just make a quick comment?
on
On item 7A is the draft school calendar for 22-23. And what we've tried to do with that to try to mitigate some of our substitute deficit issues is we've added a few additional half days to try to cluster some of the meetings that we would be holding while students are in session, pulling staff out, having substitute coverages. So we're trying to go about a more standardized approach to mitigate the number of absences from teachers and support staff from direct instruction. So if there are no dissenting opinions with that from the board or the community or the respective associations that have the ability to provide some guidance to that, then in April, we'll approve the calendar for next school year. Okay, so we're still open for discussion.
So March 31st for our upcoming events is our personal meeting. April 5th is a special board of education meeting. April 6th is the BOCES annual dinner. The 12th is finance committee. And then the 19th is our next board of education meeting. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn. Motion. Motion by Dale. Second by Brad. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Need things signed, bring it down.
Bring it down.